In less than a year, the Filipino electorate will once again go to the polling precincts and cast their votes to elect a fresh set of public officials that will steer the direction of our nation in the years to come. Welcome to Politics and Beyond, an On Point the Podcast election series where I invite public officials and personalities to hear their opinions, analysis, plans, and aspirations for a better Philippines. Also to help the Filipino electorate in the upcoming 2022 national and local elections. So join me as I have my conversations with them here on Politics and Beyond. For the second episode of Beyond Politics, we are very lucky to have someone with us that who will help us unbundle the issues that transpired over the last week. So allow me to welcome my guest. He is an assistant professor of political theory at the Department of Political Science at University of the Philippines, Diliman. He is also the managing editor of the Philippine Political Science Journal, and he is currently taking his doctoral degree somewhere in Asia. Everyone, please help me welcome Professor John Robert Go. Professor, thank you so much, and welcome to Politics and Beyond. And again, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation to join you in this podcast.
Yes.
All right. It's actually I don't usually agree to joining interviews right now, but since I feel that podcast is a new avenue to explore, no, unlike because we're used to being asked by TV stations,
Media
outfits, no, but I guess because this is independently produced, no, so I guess
this is a one-man show.
So I feel like, oh, this is it's a better opportunity and in a way to reach out a different set of audience kasi podcast.
Yes. So before we get into the business, I just want to ask you, kumusta? I'm sure you're vaccinated. Kumusta yung life dyan sa where you are at this very moment in China? Kumusta yung the virus that that the whole world is facing? Kumusta?
Okay, it's well, the situation here is very different from the situation in the Philippines. First of all, everything is almost back to normal here. If not, it's actually back to normal, except wearing the face masks. No? Face-to-face classes have resumed since September last year, so it's almost over a year now since we've had the face-to-face classes. Everything, all the services are back to normal. Economy back. All stores are open.
But I presume you're still following safety protocols.
Yes, it is now the standard, no. Unlike before na iba yung set of standards. So parang ngayon na-integrate na yung health protocol, safety protocols in.
Kumbaga, nasa sistema na ng mga tao. Susunod na lang sila.
Yes. For example, we have a health code. So if you enter an establishment, you have to scan a code and then it will show that you are entering this particular building and then you are healthy. No, it should reflect a green QR code. So that means you are healthy. And then if there is a yellow border, that means you are vaccinated. So alam na nung security personnel, if there are, na person is healthy, safe to enter the premise.
And I just figured to ask that because who knows, that the Philippines might be, moving forward to this pandemic slowly but surely. But I just want to ask to get some informations, and that's good to know, that people there are slowly coming back to what is supposed to be the new normal. And yeah, for my first question, jumping into the real business of this conversation, I just want to ask your thoughts, Prof, on how do we actually understand the popularity of President Duterte, considering uh, for me lang, no, as my analysis is concerned, no, um, I should say na meron naman talagang mga mishaps here and there, but it seems that Filipinos or majority of the Filipinos still, you know, somewhat like President Duterte, even if meron talagang mga mismanagement, no? Shall I say, if that's the right term? But how do we actually reconcile this? Na parang klaro naman na medyo may mga mismanagement and all, but what's your thoughts on this still being so popular amongst the Filipino citizenry?
Okay, first, when I was asked the same, I was actually asked the same question, no, when during the 2016 elections, no, why was Duterte very popular among the people? Like, it was it's like a jumping up popularity from was
Mhm.
last place survey and then eventually winning the presidency. And at that time, I was saying because people were able to identify with Duterte's politics, right? Galing siyang probinsya, well, he was from a political family. He is rather from a political family. If you can see yung anak niya, lahat ng anak niya may
Mhm,
political.
mhm.
His father was also governor at one point and part of I think the Marcos cabinet. But yeah, yung identification, nagmumura siya. He speaks those words. Okay, he speaks out his mind. He's very extemporaneous. He's not
Mhm.
fixed. So, and at that time, 2016, there's the trend to go outside the establishment. And who is the establishment? Mar Rojas is the establishment. Grace Poe is the establishment. So you have this Duterte as the alternative. Fast forward, no, 5 years
Mhm.
later,
Yes, yes,
the term is about to end. Why is Duterte still popular despite all
yes,
the
yes,
controversy
exactly.
right there? And one thing I'm thinking about is that uh, the noise about dissatisfaction is mainly concentrated in the national capital, okay, or
Mhm,
in urban centers,
mhm,
okay. Um, we do we hear the same sentiments from people in rural communities, okay, whose sources of information are mainly radio and TV, okay. Itong of course everyone is very much fond of social media to the point of giving social media too much credit, no, to say that this could shape everything and a lot of
mhm,
things about politics. But the reality is, if you ask an ordinary farmer and his family or the fisher folks, no, ano ba yung sentiments nila? They think that probably, I'm not saying this is how they think, no, but we are
mhm,
just
mhm,
making clear, no, that they think that yeah, it's still okay, it's still fine, that they still survive, that they still live. And I think this is an attitude that is common among the people um across presidents, in fact, no,
mhm.
na parang despite all the issues and problems, there would be a sliding down definitely of satisfaction of
Yes, yes.
yeah. But generally the idea is very optimistic, okay.
Mhm,
uh,
okay.
you add to that how the government tries to not, I'm thinking of the word placate, but to control probably negative sentiments is by the idea of ayuda, for example. And this is one thing that people would have a very concrete, tangible manifestation that despite the problems in management of, for example, of the travel ban, of controlling the virus, but you have a very tangible evidence. Here is the money I received from the government. Okay. And I can
Kung,
use this money to buy what I want. So parang from that point of view, may nakuha ako, may natanggap
okay.
benefits, and I think it's not bad after all. If I have
Kumbaga, cost benefit theory or something like may nakukuha yung isang tao or isang individual. So they seem to, I guess the word that comes to my mind is neglect this medyo mismanagement, basta may nakuha lang. Ganun yung nakukuha kong point. I don't know if you would say, if you would agree to me. It seems like parang uh, with the ayuda or with the help that they're getting, they seem to relate to Duterte that uh, it may seem that the government is kind of addressing the immediate problem, no?
mm,
Instead of really addressing yun nga, the mismanagement of the travel ban, perhaps other
yeah.
laws that would. That's what I'm getting from.
Because for example, no, yung idea na may nakakapasok na ibang tao na posible magdala ng virus. Of course, that's a concern, no? Pero the immediate concern of the Filipino family is you are putting cities, towns, localities in quarantines, no? Whichever tier is that, okay? And that would mean closing the economy. Where will I get the source of income? And then comes in the government, I will give you money. So this is a more practical way of wala akong mapagkukuhanan ng income, bibigyan tayo ng tulong ng gobyerno. And so I think it is trying to work, no? And they try. I hope tolerate is not the word to describe the kind of attitude, no, that they tolerate the problems. For example, yung issue with the procurement of face shields with formalin, and all these investigations in the Senate, no.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's what I think about it.
Mm, uh, pumunta lang tayo doon sa related pa din na question with immense popularity. There has been surveys that came out last October 5, if you hear the news, no? Medyo nagkakaroon ng sliding down doon sa approval rating ng mga pag-handle ng administrasyon na ito sa different like criminality, the pandemic, and graft and corruption. For example, from 64% in June, naging 52 na lang siya when it comes to addressing graft and corruption. Criminality from 79% nung June, naging 74. Sa pandemic response naman, of 65, naging 59. So do you see this as significant, kumbaga, decrease? And where can you attribute this? Where can we possibly attribute the decrease of the approval rating when it comes to the handling of the government when it comes to these issues?
Okay, I think it's significant, no? Kasi ang laki nung binaba, no? From 70 plus to 50 plus, no? Or 60 plus, no? It's a big value. One thing I can think of is because the pandemic situation in the Philippines has been ongoing and has been extended. I don't know how long it will, but it has been there for, I don't know, almost more than 2 years. More than 2 years naman, wala pa naman siguro. But more than a year, almost a year, 2 years na, more than 1 year and a half.
Yes.
If I so maybe on the first few months, no, going back March 2020, the expectation is, of course, no government is prepared for this, and everyone is just trying to cooperate with the government. But as you time passes by, months after months after months, and the government seems to have no clear strategy on how is it going to handle this, changing nomenclatures of how things
Mhm,
are,
mhm.
like
Yes.
uh MECQ, and then MECQ with some modification and things like that. And now they have come up with tiers, alert level, and
Mm,
all this changing nomenclatures, which creates more confusion, and people don't know what to do anymore. So the question, for if I am the person living there, is that until when? What will happen to us? No, and what is the government actually doing? So probably if you are uh well, if we use the term really into diehard Duterte supporter, okay, if you are really that
yes.
kind of supporter,
Yes. Yes.
it is the passion to support the president regardless of what is happening is always there. But for those who are supportive of the government, but then feeling that the government is no longer uh, managing it as it should be managing it, and
Mm,
seeing other countries have started to get back to normal, to be better. For example, um, our neighbors in Southeast Asia, no, some countries are still in bad shape, like Indonesia and probably Vietnam. I heard from my friends, Vietnamese friends here, the situation in Vietnam is also not so good. But take a look at other countries, and they have started going back to normal, having face-to-face classes, and vaccination rates are very fast. No, it's more than 50% already of the population being vaccinated. So you see, um, other countries can do it. Why can't we do it?
mm,
This is creating that sense na, what is the government doing? So probably that is one of the aspects where we see, this government in its approval rating is probably going lower and lower. Yeah.
push ko lang yung sinabi niyo kanina, Prof. Sinabi mo that why uh, other countries are starting to, move forward with the so-called new normal. In your own opinion, or sa sasaliksik niyo dyan based on your studies, research, why can't the Philippines do it? Ano kaya yung posibleng, hindi naman mali, or ano kaya yung pwedeng i-improve pa? Hmm, to just to for us to move forward.
Uh, Actually, I don't know how the Philippines exactly manages everything, because it seems to me that most of the tasks are handled by the local governments, no,
Mhm.
which is very much sensible, because the local governments know more about the situation in their locality. Um, Maybe it's now complicated because the elections is very near. But if you're going to look at it in terms of management, for example, when they hear that it is a lockdown, it is a lockdown. Yung lockdown kasi sa Pilipinas, it's if not a fake, a very loose lockdown. People can still
Mhm.
go to Boracay, for example. But why? Um, uh, Here, when you say you cannot leave, you cannot leave. If you say you cannot go, you cannot go. Maybe it's a function of the political system, because here it's not uh, a liberal democracy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think the imposition of the quarantine, no, is very loose. Some people are exempted. Some people can go out, and these are so the and I would even insert a class dimension, that the rich who can afford to get out, have tested and buy the plane tickets expensive, no, are able to go out, no.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the real people who are suffering with this lockdown are the poor people, because and they have to settle with whatever they are capable of, no?
Mm-mm.
So yeah, uh I think in terms of management, that's the problem. Inconsistencies. Okay.
Mm.
Of course, the
There's just
basics.
too much inconsistencies.
There's just too much inconsistency with the application of the rules. Some
Yes.
people are, I guess, paraphrasing or adopting directly, no, yung sinabi ni George Orwell's Animal Farm. Some people are more equal than others, in a way that, yeah, some people can really get the benefits, and some people will have to suffer the consequences.
Mhm.
And so, and of course, I was saying the basics, no, which should have been done as early as they could have done it. For example, contact tracing. Parang
Mhm.
today it becomes moot already, but it's still a necessary requirement. And I think I heard some months ago, fairly recently, that the government is starting to recruit contact tracers. But why only now? Why not
Mm, 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 mm.
first few months,
Yes.
no? So you see, in terms of strategy, parang naiwanan yung
Mm,
Pilipinas. And therefore, if you look at the, excuse me, if you look at the ratings, no, about this COVID and response of governments, Philippines, is at the end, no, is at the bottom. And then,
yes.
magko-complain nga yung gobyerno, sasabihin nila, hindi naman nila alam yung sitwasyon dito, or and
Mm.
things like that.
I guess recently sa Nikkei Asia and sa Bloomberg, no, we were at the last, ano, uh, for the COVID resiliency or response ata. We were at the bottom section of, I think, 100 plus countries. And uh, it's not alarming anymore, but it's saddening because we've been in the same situation for 1.5 years. And tama yung sinabi mo, Prof, in other countries can do it. Why can't the Philippines?
Yeah.
It's just quite saddening in at some point, no, kasi parang, you know, mapapatanong ka na lang na kailan ba, o kung hindi man kailan, sana may ginagawa naman silang, you know, good things or visible things na we can say na parang, we're actually moving forward. Parang sa tingin ko, medyo hindi sila ganon ka-keen in really, you know, for us to, I guess, move forward. Parang sila din naguguluhan. That's just my observation. Uh,
Yes.
Tapos na, yes?
If I may add, no, I think they are doing some things, but I think what they're doing is does not match the needs on the ground. And they have acquired so many loans, no? So, pero ano yung ginagawa nila sa loans na yon? For example, this controversy about the face mask. I'm sorry, face mask, face shield. Ang laki-laking billions of funds, no? Yung ginastos doon. So if those billions of funds were used on other stuff which are more necessary, I think mas I, I don't know, the response would have been better. No, for example, recruiting more health workers to join the force, no, instead of yeah, tapos parang dinidemonize pa yung mga health workers if they ask for more support.
Yes, yes. Punta naman tayo sa medyo international level. No, I just want to ask your thoughts on, uh, you know, there have been issues that the ICC, or the International Criminal Court, is very keen in investigating the war on drugs of President Duterte. I just want to ask your thoughts on this. What do you think is next for Duterte? Can the ICC do something about this? That's number one. And can President Duterte eventually, kung magpunta yung mga ICC investigators or groups, can our government actually kumbaga, pwede ba nilang harangin talaga considering na international naman ito? Or kasi may narinig din akong stories or news coming out that there have been groups na or parang mga supporters ni Duterte that the case or parang Duterte should be trialed in our courts but not in the International Criminal Court. What's your thoughts on this? Is this possible? Does this make sense?
Well, when we signed, I'm not very much familiar with the ICC, no. But from my basic knowledge of the idea of having an international criminal court, of course, because the court is against the crimes are against humanities, no. And they are very much keen on this war on drugs, no, and we know it's very much bloody. Okay, um, even if granted the argument of some that maybe the numbers are bloated, fine, but the fact that there are people who were killed in the process, okay, some police, the former police chief, now senator, calls them collateral damage, no, pero these are lives of people. You don't treat them as numbers. You don't treat them as statistics. These are actual lives of people, and therefore, wherever, in fact, this is my point, no, wherever you can seek justice for the lives of these people, try to find it, and if the ICC is that avenue, then
So
go
be it.
there.
Yes.
No, can the government stop ICC
Yes,
investigation?
from coming.
Well, the government is the government, so it can refuse entry of
Oh.
foreign nationals in our territory. So they can
Yes.
they can opt to not cooperate, because especially if the next president would be an ally of this president,
Yes, yes.
so we will not
So,
see anything happening.
kumbaga, 2022 elections is very crucial because there's just too much at stake. No, that's what
Yeah.
there's too much at stake. There's too much issues to consider of. And speaking of elections, no, pupunta na tayo sa recent, atmosphere. The recently concluded filing of the COC. What's your
Mhm.
thoughts on the celebrities coming in, the issue of what's this placeholders, the issue of what's your thoughts on the general recently concluded COC filing here in the Philippines?
Okay, there are many things to unpack, no, with this COC, because there are a lot of surprises in a way, and a lot of expected filers. No, for example, we all expected Bongbong Marcos. We all expected, of course, Lenny Robredo. A lot of supporters have already expressed that. We also expected Pacquiao and Isko Moreno, because they have already, I mean, publicly, particularly
Kumbaga nagpaparamdam sila.
they have publicly announced, no, prior to the filing of COCs. So, but there are also a lot of unexpected things, like, for example, Sara Duterte not filing her candidacy, which is she is number one in the surveys, and then you have Bato de la Rosa, who filed his COC for president. No, so what does this mean? A lot of things to unravel, I think, in the next coming days, and everyone is gonna watch out for November 15th.
Yes.
No, because that's the day of substitution. I think we are, as a people, politics is, well, Philippine politics, no, as it is now, it seems like it's already a circus. A lot of things happening, people, politicians playing the games, various games. But I think the way we see the elections the coming elections now, it's like we
Yes.
are bringing that circus into a full full play. Like everything is there already, and this substitution thing, the idea of having placeholders is
Yes.
is,
Yes.
is of course it's a right that they have. They can substitute if they want, but to a certain extent, I feel that it is being abused to the point
Yes.
that
Correct.
the people are
Yes.
being tricked, no,
Yes.
not
Yes.
being honest of their intentions. For one, the presidency, vice presidency, or any elective post for that matter. Okay, when you file your COC, it means you are serious. You want to run. You want to serve for the duration of the term of the office that you are, I mean, seeking, right? So there must be some sense of sincerity there. Now, if you're just playing games, I will file candidacy and then eventually be substituted. What does this talk? What does this say about your intentions to run? Are you just trying to hide from your political opponents? Probably, no. But at the same
Mm.
time, you must be able to. I think no, and this is very normative in a way that as a candidate, as a prospective candidate, you have to lay out your cards and tell the
Mm.
people, I am willing, I want to serve the
Mm.
people, and I am not afraid, no, of telling
Mm.
the no? Pero yung substitution parang ano eh, parang mas importante pa sa yung political gaming, no,
Mm.
than actually telling the people na I am
Mm.
uh,
Kumbaga dapat you're saying na straightforward dapat sila, dapat straight to the point, kung gusto, gusto, kung ready, ready. Ganun.
oo,
Ganun.
yeah, yung substitution kasi usually kapag namatay yung original candidate, no, siya yung papalit.
Mm.
Okay, so we understand that. Okay, you can withdraw, that's fine. You can substitute, yun nga, pag may namatay or there are serious consequences, serious illness, and things like that. Pero yung ano lang, out of whim, caprice, or as political strategy, it's, well, it could pass as a political strategy, but I think it's just playing on the on the minds of the electorate. Yeah.
Mhm. Kumbaga they're just kumbaga a mockery of the electorate and the essence also of the substitution na din siguro, or the provision, kasi parang tama, you said it right, na parang ginagamit nila ito to test the waters still kung may possible na mas maayos na candidate. And you said it right also na yun nga, tama na, kung mag-file ka dapat dapat seryoso, dapat may there's a sense of sincerity, because you are, at the end of the day, you're trying to serve the entire Filipino electorate. And push ko lang din ng konti, do you think this is healthy for our democracy? And number two, what do you think should be, kung meron mang kailangan i-improve, ano yun, at do we see a light na, kumbaga, 5-10 years from now, can we get out from this kind of politics here in the Philippines?
Yeah, I think it all started with Duterte using the substitution method. No?
Yes.
Yeah, at the local level, this is already used. Yun nga, pag may namatay, for example, because our local politics is also very deadly, no? A candidate while doing the campaign, binaril probably by the opposing party. So someone will have to run as a substitute. That's fine. But yun nga, when Duterte used that technique in 2016, it opened a Pandora's box. Like, pwede natin gamitin to.
Kumbaga, it
Pwede,
opened the floodgates of doing such, no? It
yeah.
opened.
Parang ano ngayon, parang, for example, you hear Lakas CMD also had a placeholder. We
Yes,
don't
yes, yes, exactly.
seriously running for president, and um it's it's in a way, I mean, if you are a hardcore uh into institutions, no, na parang
Yeah.
sinisira mo yung institutions na
Yes. It weakens. It
yeah,
weakens
it
some institutions.
weakens because you are able to go around, you find loopholes, and then you go into those loopholes and take advantage of those loopholes. And then since because one person has done it before, then other people would do it again. No?
Yes.
Uh I don't see anything changing in the next 5 to 10 years if the rules on substitution are not amended or not replaced. So it should be for the COMELEC, I think, no, to to use its power, no.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
I just don't know. I'm not very familiar with the omnibus election code. If this substitution scheme is within the law, and if it is within the law, then that would require a greater power like Congress to
Mhm.
amend it. But if it is in the rules of COMELEC, then they can
They
on
can.
their own
Okay.
change rules, or in the process of application, no, of the rules, they can be more strict, no.
Mhm.
Substitution is allowed, but what kind of substitution can be allowed in which context, no, so that there is sense of being sincere, not just sincere but also being serious about the election process, no. Hindi siya
Mhm.
child's play, no. No, you see how the elites are just playing with the people.
Yes.
No?
Sila lang.
You watch this performance, no, as we try to ano yun, juggle the balls. Ano yun? In a
Uh,
circus nga eh.
mm. You make mention about or the names no of the presidentiables like Marcos, Leni Robredo, and Sara Duterte, to name a few. I just want to ask your thoughts on the opposition because parang sila yung they're pitted against each other. The opposition, Leni Robredo, she's pitted against Bongbong
Mhm.
Marcos, of course. What are your thoughts on the sudden change of colors, no, from yellow to pink? What are your oh, kumbaga anong basa mo dito? Does this make sense? What what will this mean to the vice president? What does this speak to, to her whole campaign of changing the rebranding from yellow to pink? And one more thing, the she's running as an independent. How do you read these things?
Well, running as independent speaks a lot about her efforts to really unite the opposition. Like, of course, a lot of activists, even scholars, will question the position of Robredo or even the Liberal Party as the legitimate opposition because you have an alternative opposition, which is the left. No, um, but at the same time, it's more of the what do you call this? If Lenny stuck with Liberal Party, the association will still be there and very much clearer, and that would
Mhm.
automatically dissuade a lot of possible voters, especially uh, because you will just think about it. There are already individuals who are you will be they will be voting for a particular candidate already. There are individuals who will surely vote for Lenny Robredo, but there are also
Mhm.
individuals who have not decided at all, and
Um,
that I what she is trying to get. At the same time,
mhm,
try to get votes from those who have already in a way decided. Okay,
mhm,
maybe they
mhm.
will. So running as independent is in a way trying to collect more people, not just
Kumbaga, she's trying to capture the middle, capture the undecided, and eventually broadening her base, no?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to get.
Yeah.
And
Think about Grace Poe also running as independent in the last
yes.
president. Yeah. If everything was sustained, she would have won the presidency. If Duterte did not run for president, she probably have won. Uh,
Yes.
and there are a lot of, well, of course, a lot of things, and everyone could have won actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is
Uh,
it safe to say that the move of the vice president, kumbaga, she's on the right track in trying to unite the opposition and to even capture the middle and the undecided?
I'm not sure. Right track is the word. Right track
Ah,
is the
okay.
word. I think this is their strategy on how to capture,
Okay, okay.
because there are still issues, some issues they have to grapple with within.
Mm-hmm,
For
mm-hmm.
example, I think in the senatorial slate, Nery
Yes,
Culminar,
yes,
and then a lot of
yes, yes.
Neri are also supporters of Neri. No, of course we can opt not to elect those she's saying she will
Mm-hmm,
run for the Senate, but
mm-hmm,
I guess it would have been nicer to solidify the entire group if that would be the case, but that is their call, no, if they want to have really a strong opposition, if opposition is really the position, so you have to gather and all possible fronts, no, to ensure victory, if that is the case that they want. Yeah.
mm-hmm. And speaking of, we're done with the vice president. Now let's go to uh, former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Bongbong Marcos. What are your thoughts on this? Anong basa mo dito? Tumakbo siya. What does this mean to, to especially the history of the martial law? Kasi hindi pa siya medyo talagang medyo natatagpi-tagpi yung history. What is your thoughts on this? Another Marcos is trying to bag the highest position in the country. What does this say to the post-EDSA narrative? No, and if in case he he wins the highest position in the country, what what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it just proves how our memory is very fragmented, no. um Having, if Marcos will win as president, it signals a return of the Marcoses, to the extent of possibly cleansing, no, the dark record of his father, uh, and having control of the state would have control of the education system, for example. So how will that, how would that uh, impact the education of the future generation, like wiping
Mhm,
out martial law history, setting aside all these problems that was created during martial law and things like that. Um, I don't know what his plans are, to be
mhm,
honest, because he has not made any plans. To be
mm.
honest,
There's not really any plans at the first place.
like like and this is not only for Marcos, but also for other presidential candidates who just gave out statements that I will run for president, motherhood statements,
Yes.
poverty, Filipinos get out of this situation. But any other concrete plans, I don't know what they really plan. Okay, they are just banking on their name, their popularity, and so forth. But if we are talking about the current situation and where Marcos is at, no, I think he's greatly benefiting from the infighting of the
Yes.
opposition.
Yes. Correct. Exactly. Kumbaga,
Uh,
quiet lang naman siya. Quiet lang siya. And others are just fighting with each other. And not concentrating on who is the real end, on who and what the real enemy is. Kumbaga siya yung
Yeah.
nakabenefit ng
So as these opposition groups start and engage in fighting, no, he is just trying to solidify his ground, and the worst nightmare of the opposition may even become real because of what is happening right now.
Mhm.
So I guess Bongbong Marcos is in a, if this situation of the opposition does not change, he would be in a rather good position because his supporters are not really fighting. No, his supporters are
Kumbaga quiet lang sila. They're so quiet. They're
right.
just relaxed.
Now, what would be interesting is if Sara Duterte decides to run for president,
Yes.
because really divide the base of Bongbong and Sara, because
Mhm,
Marcos
mhm.
Duterte supporters are
Push
Duterte
ko lang
support.
yung sinabi niyo ulit, Prof. Do you think, no, based on your networks from the Philippines or in from where you are right now, no? Kumbaga, I assume that you have bigger networks and connections already. Uh, Talaga bang tatakbo si Sara Duterte? And if yes, do you think, no? And if yes, why is she doing this? Why is she portraying as such na parang she's the reluctant candidate and she's waiting for a rallying effect or a clamor, no? As such? Why do you think so? Is this part of the strategy?
I unfortunately I don't have the network with this with this group. So wala akong masasabi. I mean, I cannot say that I have knowledge of any information, for example, if she will run or not. But in case she runs for president, it's her prerogative. But I guess it's about all about the strategy and strategizing. It worked for his
Mhm.
for her father. Maybe it will work for her. But then what I hear is that she is very different from her father.
Mhm, mhm.
So I don't know how will that go about. And but being the reluctant candidate is you know, I don't know if this is Filipino culture or what, but the more you say no, sometimes the more people will force you to do it, right?
Mhm,
I'm not saying
mhm.
force,
Yes.
will be forced to run, but she will be getting more clamor because at the same time, she may be first in the surveys right now at this point, but we
Mhm.
know for a fact that whoever is the first or leading in the early surveys may not necessarily become the president,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
like Unai,
History would tell us.
like Grace Po. So they were at the top, no? But then they did not win the presidency. So I think Sara Duterte is also trying to weigh her options, no?
Uh,
See if
Kumbaga
she will.
she's trying to be very much careful if talaga bang oras na para tumakbo and all. She's
Yeah,
considering all the factors.
because look at, I mean, she's mayor of Davao. If she runs for mayor of Davao, she will be mayor of Davao for the next 3 years. If she runs for president and she loses the presidency, she has nothing. so, uh, so I don't know. So how they will decide on
Which
that.
makes it more exciting kasi parang the more we don't know, the more we, parang it's all guessing game. Kumbaga, sabi nga nila, everything is fluid until November 15
Yes.
because so
Parang
to
wala lang deadline ng October
yes,
8 na
yes.
filing
Kumbaga
candidate.
dati naman pag filing ng candidacy, no, na parang previous election would tell us na pag tapos na yung filing, parang we have already a clear sense kung sino yung tatakbo. But since that substitution thing, came into the window, parang hindi na, parang mas naghihintay pa tayo ng mas matagal pa. And siguro, which makes it more exciting for me because Filipinos in general love dramas, no, in general. Yeah,
Yes.
our love for teleserye, I guess it's within our culture. And siguro parang, siguro tigilan na natin yung pagka uh, in touch natin sa drama, and let's just focus on what's real and what are the things that can affect us. Yun lang yung aking insights doon. And just to properly end this conversation, since this is beyond politics, I do have to ask you an on-point question. Number one, as an educator, as an academician, no, amidst all the inconsistencies, amidst all the violations that is happening, no? Parang kung hindi ka naman talaga nakapikit lang, makikita mo na may mga mismanagement, no? Here and there. As an educator, as an academician, how do you reconcile all of this to your students na parang it seems it's not the ideal thing na ginagawa sana ng government? So, how do you explain this? Na parang, and then number two, on-point question, can you give us 3 characteristics that Filipino voters should be looking for in our, as we elect fresh set of officials for the 2022 national and local elections?
Yeah. Okay. First question. All governments, all administrations rather, have will have points of mismanagement, okay, and points for good management, if that is a proper term to use, no. But why do we focus on the bad things they do? Because in the first place, they were there to do the good things, the right things, the proper. And once they do not do what they are supposed to do, that is when we try to call them out, right?
Yes.
And therefore, calling out becomes a responsibility because we are giving them not just salary. I think this is a usual thing, no? Pinapasahod natin itong mga ito. But it's not just the salary that we are giving them. It is the power to decide on behalf of us. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the power to decide on behalf of us. They have the authority. How to use our money? How to determine who gets the resources? How to determine what kind of benefits we receive? They all have those powers. Okay, and therefore we must always try to get the attention of government and tell them when it is wrong, it is wrong. Yeah. And then for the second question, the 3 characteristics to look for.
Yes, in our next leaders.
This
One.
sounds like a question for a beauty pageant. But well, the characteristics are very hard to,
or traits, perhaps.
Yeah. Approachable. Someone who can approach. Okay. Second is very open. Okay. So listener. So someone who listens, someone is very open to criticisms. Okay. And someone visionary. Like because governing is not just day to day, setting up a goal and try to attaining, and tries to setting up a goal and try to attain that goal. Okay, so what are the 3? Approachable, especially at the local level. Second is open to criticism, someone who listens, and then
number 3, visionary.
So for
yes. So I guess I'll just have to leave it at that. And This has been Franz Joshua Merida. This has been my conversation with Professor John Robert Go. And until our next conversation here on Politics and Beyond.
And that's it for this week's episode of Politics and Beyond. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify to keep you updated. Until our next episode here on Politics and Beyond, where we elevate the issues through conversations.